Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 2 of What If Jackie Chan was in W.I.T.C.H. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. The key. The tyrant known as Phobos sat on his throne as he was approached by his right hand, Lord Cedric in his human form, along with Wong, W.I.T.C.H, and even his captain of the guard, Raithor. Prince Phobos, when the rebel leader, Caleb, escaped with the Guardians and their allies, we found these. Cedric presented to Phobos the unlocked manacles that Caleb was held with when he was brought in. Either he picked the lock, or he was given the only key, which is now suspiciously missing. Raithor stated, W.I.T.C.H, you were the last one to see this boy as he was placed in the oubliette. Wong turned to the large blue humanoid. How could he have escaped? W.I.T.C.H Winston tried to come up with an answer, but Raithor beat him to it. You helped the rebel, didn't you? You're a traitor. No. W.I.T.C.H said immediately. I must have lost the key in the battle. Odd however you were never seen during that battle. Wong persisted. Phobos spoke. Before we make any accusations, I would prefer to know all the facts. If there is a spy in my ranks, it could be W.I.T.C.H, but it also couldn't be. Search the castle. If you are telling the truth W.I.T.C.H, then the key is still here. Until it is located however, you will be confined to the dungeon for the time being. If what you say is true, then you have nothing to worry about. Raithor, watch over him. As you wish, Prince Phobos. Raithor bowed to his prince as he began to escort a nervous W.I.T.C.H out of the throne room. Cedric transformed into his massive humanoid serpent form. For W.I.T.C.H's sake, that key had better still be here. He slithered out of the room to begin searching. Wong was about to follow when Phobos called to him. Wong, I have a special assignment for you. What do you require of me, my prince? Wong asked. You have previously lived on Earth before. So, find out all you can about a warrior named Jackie Chan. Phobos ordered. Earth, Heatherfield. Uncle's rare finds would be opened soon. But of course, all the artifacts, merchandise, and magic books had to be unloaded and unpacked off the truck. Jackie and Toru did some of the heavy lifting. Jade worked as well. Yanlin brought Lin over to help too. Of course, they also had assistance from a certain rebel whom they recently rescued. What the heck is in these boxes to make them so heavy? Caleb questioned as he set one large box down on the ground rather roughly. Iya, be careful, Uncle exclaimed. Uncle's antiques are extremely rare. You want to shatter priceless artifacts? No. Then handle with care. As Caleb backed away in comical fear, Lin looked in minor surprise. Has your uncle always been like that? She asked Jade as the two helped unpack several of Uncle's books in the back room. Oh, you have no idea. Jade rolled her eyes in annoyance. Aside from unpacking some old man's shop, why am I dressed like this? Caleb questioned, referring to his current clothes consisting of a long-sleeved blue t-shirt with brown khakis and even a Yankees baseball cap. Hey, I made you those clothes. Lin shouted, taking offense to that statement. Guess they don't have manners in Meridian. Jade muttered. Give him some time girls. Yanlin told her granddaughter and Jade. He has been battling Phobos forces for a very long time. Caleb, I can understand why you feel this is frustrating. Jackie told the young rebel. But things are different here on Earth. We must keep magic and everything about Meridian a secret here. Your world has magic too, doesn't it? Caleb asked. It does. Toru nodded as he set a box down gently. But most people have already forgotten about it. People have a bad history of misjudging what they don't understand. Caleb sighed. Fine. I'm still surprised that you were able to go toe-to-toe with Phobos of all people and not have any magic powers. He said to Jackie. I have experience battling evil. Jackie said. That's an understatement. Jade added as she ran into the room. You should have seen all the guys he's taken down. From crime lords to magic ninjas to giant demons. That all still sounds really amazing. Lin beamed. You have got to tell me more. Jackie smiled a bit at their enthusiasm. Caleb smiled a bit too. Not everyone can say they went face to face with Phobos and made it out alive. He took a book from the box he put down and began to look at its contents. So, all these books contain magic spells. Ow. Caleb rubbed his forehead where Uncle slapped him as the old man took the book away. Do not touch. So Caleb, where is your little Meridian friend? Yan Lin asked. His name is Blunk, and he's not my friend. Caleb said in a grumble. Hey, did the toad got us out of Phobos castle, didn't he? Jade reminded. What is he again? A passling. Toru answered. Magical traders with the natural ability to detect raw magic. They also have a discreet scent to them. Which translates into, they stink. Jade questioned. Everyone looked toward Jade in minor surprise considering she just defended Blunk. What? Just because he seems like a cool little toad guy doesn't mean he doesn't need a serious shower. Well, I think he's kinda cute. Hey, Lin said. Wonder where he is anyway. Meridian, Castle Town. The local town around the castle seemed pretty decent. The people there lived okay lives, should they not oppose Phobos. If they did, it would lead to dire consequences. But despite that, as people walked and attended to their own personal business, a certain passling was doing what he did best as well. Rare fruit. Delicacy. Blunk tried to show a cold French fry to some people who just walked by. He also had with him other pieces of junk that he got from his short time on Earth, including a broken CD, an old cell phone, used pieces of clothing, an old videotape, and he even wore a bra over his head like a hat. Magic box of string. He showed the videotape as he began to pull the tape out. See, string never stopped. A man walked by and spoke discreetly to him. I have no money, but my sister works in the castle, and I have some valuable information. That caught Blunk's attention. Trade for attractive earplugs. He showed off 2 old corn cobs. I rather have the hat. He pointed to the bra Blunk wore on his head. Earth, Heatherfield. Caleb had just finished unpacking the rest of Uncle's stuff and was walking back to the Silver Dragon. He looked in minor surprise as he saw a pair of kids riding on skateboards past him, never seeing anything like that before. He even heard some other people talking but kept to himself mostly. After getting back to the restaurant, he walked into the basement where he would be staying during his time on Earth. He looked to an old mirror to look at the clothes he was currently wearing. He honestly slept in tents smaller than that. However, he spotted something in the reflection. Someone was behind the window on the ceiling. He quickly ducked and rolled along the floor, grabbing a broom from the side before sneaking toward the window. He used the stick end to unlock the window, forcing it to open and for the spy to suddenly fall into the basement. Caleb looked in surprise to see Blunk picking himself up from the floor. You. Blunk presented an old French fry. Fruit. How did you know I was here? Caleb demanded as Blunk ate the fry himself. Blunk no lots. Blunk no big secret. Sell Caleb's secret. Caleb didn't like that and pressed the stick end of the broom at Blunk's chest. Half off. He laughed nervously as Blunk was cornered to the wall. Okay. Secret free. Vathek in trouble. Missing key. Big trouble. That caught Caleb's attention. The manacle key. That's impossible. I put it in the hiding place like we agreed, so Vathek could recover it after I left. He remembered hiding the key in the wall in the dungeon as he, the guardians, Jackie, and everyone else made their escape. He knew he hid the key in the right spot. How could it be missing? Unless. He spotted Blunk attempting to sneak out and grabbed the passling by the legs before holding him upside down and shaking him, causing Blunk to lose everything he had on him, which included the very same key. Blunk laughed nervously. Not missing now. Finder fee. You took the key. Caleb shouted. Okay, bad decision. Blunk admitted before Caleb dropped him. He picked up the key and looked in worry for his friend. Vathek saved my life. If I don't return this, he's as good as dead. Meridian throne room. My prince. Daolon Wong bowed before Phobos. I believe I have the information you are seeking. And, what can you tell me? The Dark Prince asked. Jackie Chan is no ordinary warrior. Wong began to inform. His feats are, I dare say, legendary. He has battled forces of darkness so great, they rival even you. Wong held his staff as a dark blue cloud of smoke formed and began to show magical images of Jackie Chan's numerous battles against the likes of the Shotokan, including all the demon sorcerers, even his climatic battle against Shendu himself at his palace. These creatures that you see here, are powerful demon sorcerers, Wong explained. They terrorized the earth in ancient times and held powers so great that it took a legion of powerful Kai wizards just to banish them. Yet Jackie Chan battled all of them and vanquished every single one, even one that was feared on earth as the ultimate evil. Phobos looked at all of Jackie's battles with interest. The monsters he saw him face were intimidating and powerful to say the least, yet despite the powers of these demon sorcerers, this Jackie Chan was able to beat them with no magic whatsoever. Though he could see that Chan had help from a pair of wizards, the fact that he and his allies alone bested these creatures when it took ancient wizards to banish them alone was no small feat. How fascinating. Phobos spoke. I have clearly underestimated this warrior. And if he is training these new guardians, then he is a grave threat. So, it would seem. Wong agreed. What would you have me do, Prince Phobos? The next time Chan is spotted, don't take him prisoner, he is too dangerous to roam free. Kill him on sight. As you wish. The Dark Kai wizard smiled malevolently at that order. Heatherfield. It was mid-afternoon as the members of J-Witch, along with their friends and allies, were gathered on a rocky terrain near the water about 3 miles or so out of town. Seemed like the perfect place to get some training in. Jackie observed their surroundings. It was far away from any residential areas, there was plenty of rocks and water around, making it the perfect place for elemental and magic training. This seems perfect. So, let's get to work. Oh, this is gonna be totally awesome. Hey Lin bounced. We're gonna learn magic kung fu. You know it. Jade gave a friendly and excited point to Hey Lin. By the time Uncle Jackie's done with you guys, you'll be rolling bad guy heads left and right. I really hope we don't have to actually fight bad guys anytime soon. Terani said. Last time was a bit freaky. Everything's freaky for you, Terani. Cornelia said. So, we gonna jam or what? Irma was pumped. Come on, let's go all magic pixie again. Oh sorry, guardians. Irma corrected, in order to avoid being dope slapped by Uncle who merely looked judgmental as always. Will took out the heart of Kandrakar and said the magic words. Guardians unite. In a bright flash of colored light, Will, Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Hey Lin were enveloped in their respective magic spheres and transformed into their guardian forms. Once the transformation was completed, Hey Lin didn't waste any time shooting off into the sky, flipping and soaring while cheering and shouting, Yahoo, the whole time. Show off, Irma said. Hey Lin, come back down here. Jackie called to her. She hovered her body back down to the ground with everyone else. Sorry. Still just so excited. Hey Lin was filled with so much energy. Jackie was pleased to see Hey Lin being so optimistic, she just needed to control herself a bit. So, what fancy fighting tricks you gonna show us first? Irma asked. A flying kick, that fancy neck chop that knocks people out. First, we are going to learn how to punch. Jackie said, causing the 5 girls to look either surprised or disappointed. No offense, but I was actually expecting something a bit flashier. Cornelia said. I mean, anyone can punch. Not really. Jade pointed out. It's actually a bit more difficult if you never been in a fight before. Seriously? Will asked with a raised eyebrow. She's right. Jackie explained. And Uncle and Toru will help you to harness your magic power shortly. But there is more to Kung Fu than just simply fighting. It is about discipline, self-defense, learning how and when to apply the force needed, and knowing just when to action. Aside from our recent battle in Meridian, how many of you have been in actual fight before? The 5 girls looked towards each other, not really having an answer to that. Do pillow fights at sleepovers count? Hey Lin asked. Jackie smiled and shook his head. Well, I can understand Will needing to learn Kung Fu, but what do the rest of us need it for? Cornelia asked. I mean, we can fly and shoot fire and grow killer plants so, ow. She rubbed her forehead, the same spot where Uncle slapped her. You cannot always rely on your powers. Uncle exclaimed. What if forces of darkness attack and you cannot transform? You must learn how to defend yourselves even without powers. Uncle is right. Jackie agreed. If you become too dependent on one thing, and that thing is taken from you, it'll be much more difficult to handle yourself in a fight. He's got a point. Terani noted. Okay, so who's gonna throw the first punch? Jade asked the 5 of them. I guess I'll go. Cornelia shrugged as she walked towards Jackie, who placed both his palms in front, giving her the place to try and punch. She shrugged as she tried to give a punch, but Jackie quickly caught her wrist and put her in a lock that held both her arms behind her back. Ow, ow, you didn't say you were gonna fight back. I never said I wasn't. Jackie said as he let her go. You didn't give enough force, and your attack was too slow. Be sure to give a quick and hard strike. he advised as she rubbed her arms. Jackie repeated the process with the others. Irma was quick in her punch, but her wrist bent as she did, and the punch didn't properly connect. She must keep her attacks straight and on point. Lin was next, but her movements were too erratic. She had to calm herself. While having an abundance of energy was good, she had to learn how to focus it and maintain self-control. Terani went next, but her punch didn't really have any force to it. She was afraid that could be a bit of an issue, but Jackie assured her they would work on it. Will was last. She took in the advice Jackie gave the other girls and gave a punch. Her arm was straight and she focused on that attack. Jackie turned to parry the attack, but before he could move in, Will suddenly gave a kick, forcing Jackie to duck and jump back instinctively. The other girls looked in surprise, even Jade was stunned. "I didn't expect you to kick." "Well, you said I couldn't," Will said. Jackie looked quite impressed. "Alright, I can see where you all need to work, and we will work on improving your techniques," he said to all the guardians. "But for now, Will, you will work more with me and Jade. Terani and Cornelia will work with Toru with your abilities, Lin and Irma with Uncle for the same reason." "Least I'm not with the old man this time," Cornelia grumbled, only for said, "Old man," to slap her again. "Ow. Respect your elders," Uncle scolded as the other girls, including Jade, laughed, while Cornelia just pouted. The groups then split off. Jackie would help Will with fighting hand-to-hand first because she needed it the most. Unlike the other guardians, she didn't seem to have any elemental powers, so her learning to properly defend herself was crucial. Both Will and Jade were practicing the same movement, punching straight forward with one arm before pulling back and delivering the punch with the other arm, and repeating the same process. "Good." Jackie nodded. "Now let us see how well you kick. Jade, please demonstrate." "Got it." His niece then delivered a straightforward upward kick before pulling back. "Okay, let me try." Will tried to give the same kick, only for her foot to slip on a rock, causing her to yelp as she fell flat on her back. "Ow." She groaned as Jackie offered her a helping hand, which she took. "I'm sorry. I slipped." "It's alright," Jackie assured. "This only our first practice session, I don't expect you to get it right away." Despite the assurance, Will didn't seem all that pleased. "I'm sorry if I kinda sound like a baby right now, but it's just so unfair. Everyone else has got some elemental power, but I don't." "Why? You got me." Jade shrugged. "They're 8 different demons and they each had a different power. I'm quite certain that their magic and the ones you are all using is different," Jackie assured. "While I cannot say I don't fully understand why you don't appear to have a power, it does not mean that you aren't useless, Will." "That's right," Jade added. "So what if you can't shoot fire or water? You're still super strong. Here, lift that big rock." She pointed to a large rock nearby that looked as though it would weigh more than 60 pounds. Will came over to the rock and picked it up with both hands. She tried to heave it, but almost fell back in surprise as it felt like it wasn't even 10 pounds in weight. "Whoa. This feels really light." She then held it one hand and threw it all the way out to the water, easily making it as far as 40 feet before landing with a splash. "See, what I tell ya, you're like a supergirl in training." Jade gave a thumbs up, causing Will to feel a bit better. "Jade is right," Jackie assured Will. "Instead of focusing on what you can't do, focus on what you can. You are clearly strong, and you can fly as well. See that boulder?" Jackie gestured to a massive boulder along the cliffside. "Try kicking it, while also flying to it at the same time. And don't hold back. Flying kick." "Alright." Will took a few steps back before running at the boulder, and then jumping while using her wings to give an extra boost in speed as she stuck her foot out, her leg straight and firm just like her punch, and kicked the rock so hard that cracks formed all over and it crumbled into pieces. "Whoa. Did I really just do that?" Will exclaimed with excitement and a wide smile. "Heck yeah, you did." Jade cheered. "Imagine if that was Phobos' face." She laughed. Will laughed along with her as Jackie smiled. "Do you see, Will? You can fight. But also remember, the greatest victory is the battle not fought." "What exactly does that mean?" Will asked, not really understanding. "When the time comes, you'll see," Jackie assured. "Now, shall we continue?" A determined look formed in Will's eyes as she smiled and nodded. "Yes, let's keep going." Meanwhile, Toru was working with Cornelia and Terani near the beach, working more with their respective elements, though Cornelia seemed less than eager to work. How am I supposed to use my power? Do you see any plants anywhere? Toru sighed but tried to speak as respectfully as possible. Your element doesn't just pertain to plants, Cornelia. You have the power of earth. That means you can control stone, rock, sand, everything that connects to the planet. He gently took her hand and placed it on the sandy ground. Try to manipulate the sand. Think of it as just lots of tiny rocks. Cornelia closed her eyes and tried to focus on the ground. As she did, the sand around her began to move and shift, swirling just below her palm. As she quickly pulled her hand up, a large sandcastle formed just below her. It was so big, that it reached up to her chest, and very detailed, looking like a real-life medieval castle. Very nice. Toru nodded. Well, of course, Cornelia said with a grin as she brushed her hair back, looking as confident as possible. Now if only I can make a real castle, that would be amazing. However, her sandcastle was suddenly blown to bits by a ball of fire. The two looked in surprise to the girl who accidentally blew it up. Sorry. Terani apologized as she put her palms together to try and get better control. She was able to create another large fireball in between her hands, but she shrieked at the sight of it and dropped it, causing it to burrow at her feet before going out in a puff of smoke. This caused her to look even more dejected as she hung her head, but the large and gentle man walked to her. Mrs. Lin said you had a fear of fire, correct? Terani sighed. Ever since I was little, yeah. Is it so bad that I'm afraid of getting burnt or worse, burning one of my friends? Fire can be dangerous, yes. Toru acknowledged. But it can also serve as one's salvation. When you're stuck in the mountains, in the freezing cold, a fire can save your life and keep you warm. A flame can also help you to see if you're lost in the dark. But more importantly, you have to think of this fire as a part of you. Toru gently took both her hands and spoke calmly to her. You control the power, it does not control you. Relax, and try again. Terani seemed to take Toru's words to heart as she sighed. Okay, relax, calm. She took a deep and long breath to calm herself. I control the power, it doesn't control me. Terani created another ball of fire in her hand, this time she wasn't afraid. She tossed it up and down in her hands like a regular ball and seemed to be in control. The bespectacled girl then motioned her hands around the fire to change its shape and form. With another pull and shift, she had transformed her flame into the shape of a Chinese dragon, just like what she saw Uncle do at the Silver Dragon when they first met. Hey, I did it. I did it. She threw the fire dragon straight up into the air where it exploded in brilliant fashion. Amazing. Toru congratulated. That was wonderful. Yeah, not half bad, Terani. Cornelia complimented as Terani herself smiled and sheepishly rubbed her arm. Meanwhile, closer towards the water, Uncle was working with Lin and Irma, the former was still as hyper as usual. Okay, so what do I do? Lin asked. I mean, I can already create a tornado. See, she spun her body around and created a small tornado around her for emphasis but stopped as Uncle slapped her on the forehead. Ow, that hurts. You can use your power, yes. But can you properly control it? Uncle questioned. You have much energy inside you. While this is good and it can be helpful in battle, you must learn to focus, to understand how much power you need in that moment. Now, create a small sphere of air in your hands. Lin sighed as she brought her hands together to create a small air ball that spun rapidly. Good. Uncle nodded. Now, bring your hands together to make it flat, but keep the pressure steady. The youngest guardian did just that. She was able to flatten the sphere of air and make it about as thin as a sheet of power but kept up the constant air pressure. Now then, throw it at that rock. Uncle pointed to a nearby rock. Lin took it like a frisbee and threw it at the top portion of the rock but looked in surprise to see it actually cut through the rock like a knife through butter. Whoa, didn't see that coming, Irma voiced in surprise. Oh, how did I do that? Lin questioned. By focusing. Uncle explained. Air is a powerful element, not just an all-consuming tempest, but if applied enough pressure, even a mountain can crumble underneath the wind, if you know how much force to give and where to give it. Lin looked to her hands with a smile. So, it's all about focus and control, huh? Irma asked. Well, I think I got a handle on that. She walked close towards the water. She pulled up a large blob of water, getting the attention of everyone present. I give you, Cornelia. She molded the water into a near-identical copy of Cornelia's face. This resulted in claps from everyone present, including Jackie and Toru. Uncle remained as stoic as usual while Cornelia just looked annoyed. Thanks for the nose. The blonde crumbled at the sight of the crocked nose in Irma's water sculpture. Yeah, looks way better than the original. Jade cracked with a smug grin at Cornelia, resulting in her scowling. Irma bowed amidst the claps. Thank you very much. She quoted Elvis, but lost control of the water, causing it to explode outward like a downpour of rain, complete with the sea creatures she brought up, including fish, crabs, and starfish. This caused everyone to scream or yell as they tried to take cover. Focus and control, yes. Discipline, no. Uncle exclaimed as he tried to cover himself. One fish happened to land on Toru's face. I hate fish. Later that night, after getting cleaned up and dried off, Jackie, Toru, Uncle, and the 6 girls, all made their way back to the Silver Dragon. Well, that went well, don't you think? We'll ask the group. Speak for yourself. Cornelia grunted. I still smell like raw fish. Despite the unexpected events, we know where you all stand, what needs the most improvement. Jackie said. This will do well for us in the future. Girls still have long way to go. Uncle said. One more thing, you all must learn to work together as well. Teamwork is key. Terani shivered as she felt something down her back. I felt something down the back of my neck. Jade came behind Terani and saw what it was. Promise not to have a panic attack if I tell you what it is. Terani shook her head. Then it's just some seaweed. It was actually an eel that Jade pulled out and threw to the ground, which slithered into the sewers. Oh, by the way guys, Jade and I just helped unpack Uncle's shop. Hey, Lynn told the girls. You gotta come check it out. That stuff he's got looks so old, and priceless, and cool. The shop is not ready yet, unfortunately. Toru said. Why not? Irma asked. Uncle scoffed. Landlord said shop must be sprayed for bugs. This is how I spray for bugs. He stomped his foot onto the ground, to show his method of spraying for bugs. Hey, Lynn opened the door to her family's restaurant. Well, you still gotta see the outfits I made for Caleb. I designed this really cute retro aviator 50s thing, and I think if you all hold him down. Everyone. Yan Lin walked onto the scene. I have some terrible news. What is it? Jackie asked urgently. Caleb is gone. I'm afraid he may have returned to Meridian. Yan Lin answered, resulting in the group looking in shock or surprise as most of the girls gasped. Say what? Jade exclaimed. Iya. Uncle shouted. Jackie groaned as he rubbed his hand down his face. He had a feeling that Caleb would want to get back to Meridian soon, but without even telling anybody else. What was going on here? Why the heck would Caleb leave without saying anything? Irma questioned as they went into the basement, where the rebel leader was previously sleeping. Not much of a team player. Perhaps he had a reason to leave, an emergency with his rebellion. Toru suggested. Jade smelled something that caused her to plug her noose. Aw man, smells worse than Uncle's garlic breath. Lots of garlic is good for you. Uncle protested. Yeah, if you're trying to fend off vampires. Cornelia muttered, but kept it quiet to avoid being slapped by Uncle again. But seriously, it stinks to high heaven in here. Will plugged her nose as they spotted a pair of familiar short clothes with flies buzzing around it. It didn't take a genius to know whose they belonged to. Blunk. Everyone said at the same time. Perhaps he had something important to tell Caleb, which could explain why he left so urgently. Jackie thought. So, we find the little toad, we find Caleb. Jade voiced. Any idea where to find him? According to my studies, passlings have a tendency to stay in places that are, how should I say, less sanitary. Toru offered. Well sure, that pretty much narrows it down to every single dumpster or trash heap in Heatherfield. Irma voiced sarcastically. I will devise locator spell. Uncle reached into his coat pocket to pull out a series of magical items as he sat down in front of Blunk's discarded clothes. A locator spell, really? Cornelia skeptically voiced. Like that's a real thing. 10 minutes later. I stand corrected. The blonde said as Uncle led the group down an alleyway with a dried up lizard, the end of it glowing green to indicate Blunk's location. The brighter the glow, the closer they were. Uncle's spells have proven very beneficial in the past. He has never once failed to help in the event of an emergency. Jackie said. How do these locator spells work exactly? Terani asked. It usually depends on who or what you are trying to locate. Toru explained. In this case, as we're searching for a living creature, we usually need something from him, a piece of Blunk's Kai, or life force. Sensei can then use the trace of that Kai to locate its source. So, like a magical DNA detector, oh wizards are so cool. Heilin said with a smile. Uncle continued to lead the group as the green glow was even brighter. We are close. He held his lizard and pointed it right at a large dumpster, that had all sorts of things being tossed out. Ooh, treasures. Yes, yes. Found him, Jade said. Terani then produced a small fireball in her hand to provide a light source. It lit up the whole area where they saw Blunk, who looked in surprise at who was standing there. Heilin however gave an audible gasp at what Blunk was currently wearing. What is he wearing? She exclaimed. Blunk was wearing the earth clothes Caleb previously wore, including the red cap. Aren't those the clothes you made for Caleb? Jade asked, resulting in Heilin steaming with anger. Blunk, where is Caleb? Jackie got straight to the point. Back to Meridian. Went through portal. Blunk answered. Take us to the portal, right now. Jackie told the passling, but he did not like that idea. No. Portal's secret. You showed Caleb where it was. We'll point it out. Hey Pei. Blunk said. Tight threads. Blunk styling. He really liked the clothes Caleb gave him. How do you know where the portals are anyway? Irma asked. Blunk always know. Blunk a passling. Passlings can smell. Terani waved a hand in front of her face to wave away the scent. Ooh, boy is that an understatement. Passlings are sensitive to surges of magic. Toru pointed out. So maybe he can detect the portals. Apparently through his nose. I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted. Jade said. Smelling portals not important, Uncle stated. Finding and closing portal is. You will lead us to portal immediately. No. Blunk exclaimed. Portal's good for business. Guardians find portal, guardians close. We have to close it or else the forces of darkness ooze through. Will stated. It's like putting the cap on the toothpaste. Irma said. I'm sure this guy has never even heard of toothpaste. Cornelia said. Heilin however was not thinking about that. I can't believe you're wearing those clothes. She shouted to Blunk. Blunk got it going on. The passling liked the clothes he was wearing, but Heilin didn't. Oh no, Blunk got it coming off. I made those for Caleb. If I find him, he's gonna wish Phobos found him first. Heilin's threat freaked out Blunk as he dove into the dumpster and crawled out of a hole in the side and ran as fast as he could. The toad's making a run for it. Jade exclaimed. Follow passling. Hurry. Uncle shouted as most of the group chased after him. Jade would have followed but Jackie stopped her. Jade, you go back to the Silver Dragon with Miss Lin. We'll handle this, Jackie told his niece. Ah. Jade groaned as Jackie turned around to run and catch up with everyone else. The group ran out of the alleyway and chased after Blunk down a street as he jumped down into what appeared to be a sewer but vanished in a flash of light. The group quickly ran to see what it was that Blunk jumped into. A sewer portal. Will questioned. Ew. Cornelia was beyond grossed out, just as everyone else was too. We have no time to waste. We must enter portal now. Uncle stated as he was the first to jump in, followed by Jackie. Will, Irma, Heilin, and even Cornelia jumped in too, despite how gross it seemed. Ooh. Terani groaned. First, I was covered in fish and crabs, then a rat-infested alley next to a dumpster, now I'm jumping into a sewer. Toru patted her back as he offered a sympathetic look before the girl reluctantly jumped in, with Toru stepping in close behind. Despite his large size, he passed through the portal with no issue at all. Will, Jackie, Terani, Irma, Heilin, Toru, Uncle, and Cornelia all regrouped as they had now entered the realm of Meridian, which was about as dark and gloomy as they remembered. Why is it always dark here? Cornelia complained. Different time zones. Evil is 5 hours ahead of us. Irma joked a bit. Where is Blunk? Jackie looked around. Locator spell says this way. Uncle pointed his lizard, the green glow pointing in Blunk's location as they saw the passling running down the hill. Hey, that's 400 thread silk. Quit dragging the sleeves. Lin shouted as Blunk continued to run. However, a Kai blast from Uncle's lizard at Blunk's feet was able to trip up the passling, allowing the group to quickly catch up and detain him. Blunk lowered his head in defeat as he had his sleeves tied behind his back. Well, back in Evil Town. Was kinda hoping we wouldn't have to be so soon. Will said. Do we really need to worry about anything? Cornelia asked. Phobos is looking for the Guardians. If we stay normal, he shouldn't recognize us, right? Well, what about Jackie, Uncle, and Toru here? No way, they don't have wanted posters or anything. Irma said. Jackie looked toward the town and saw a patch of cloaks being held on a clothesline near a house. Wait here. Meanwhile, in another part of the same town, Caleb had donned his normal attire as he did his best to sneak around the buildings and alleyways to avoid the patrolling guards. It didn't help with the rain and storm either. He hid behind one alleyway, when someone suddenly came out, causing Caleb to jump only to relax upon seeing it was his friend. Aldarn, you gave me one heck of a scare. Sorry Caleb. They're out looking for you everywhere. Aldarn said, with a flying creature passing over them for emphasis. We heard you'd gone through the veil. What's it like there? It's very different from Meridian. Caleb explained. Get this, people there use magic, but nobody else knows about it. They use this thing called technology instead. Technology. Aldarn didn't quite understand. Yeah, and the kids there ride some kind of board on wheels and say things like, and, totally, in their sentences. Caleb also said. Earth sounds strange. My friend, you have no idea. Castle, dungeon. Vathek remained confined in his cell as Raithor continued to stand guard. So far, the key had not been found, and that made Vathek even more nervous as he knew what would happen if the key wasn't found. In 2 hours, if the key is not found, you'll have a one-way trip to the Abyss of Shadows. Raithor said. Raithor, why do you serve Phobos? Vathek asked. What? I've seen the kind of man you are. Vathek began. You value honor above all else, and you are loyal to a fault. I don't understand though why someone like you would follow a tyrant like Phobos. He is no tyrant. Raithor turned around. Prince Phobos may not be perfect, but I vowed to serve the royal family and I have every intention of keeping that vow. Raithor, have you not seen how the people are suffering? Vathek questioned. Perhaps if the people in the rebellion actually tried to work with Phobos, there wouldn't even be a fight. Raithor argued. Why would they work with him after all he's done? Vathek argued. He even murdered his own parents so that he could claim the throne. That's a lie. Raithor shouted. I have known the prince ever since he was a boy. He did care for his parents and would never stoop so low as to end their lives. Raithor, Vathek tried to reason with him. He may very well be the last of the royal family. Raithor said. I will serve and protect my prince with my life. Vathek hung his head. Raithor was indeed an honorable warrior, but it may be his honor and loyalty that is blinding him to the truth. Whatever the case, Vathek may never know the reason, because his trip to the Abyss of Shadows seemed more than a possibility now. Castletown. Jackie led Uncle, Will, Irma, Terani, Toru, Cornelia, and Lin down an alleyway. Each of them had hooded cloaks on, though Toru had two tied together as a single cloak couldn't cover his whole body. They carried Blunk with them to keep an eye on him. Why is this thing so itchy? Cornelia asked as she scratched her shoulder. What's more important, the itch you need to scratch, or getting captured by bad guys? Irma said, causing Cornelia to grumble. Please, we must stay inconspicuous. Jackie told the group as they walked onto the street. Jackie is right. Toru agreed. The last thing we need is to draw attention to ourselves. Hey, you. They all turned around in surprise to see a guard approaching them. Busted. Lin gulped. SSHH. Will tried to shush her as Jackie walked up. Hello. Jackie tried to act as friendly and unsuspicious as possible. Why are all of you still out this late? The guard asked. A curfew is in effect. There is a dangerous criminal on the loose. Oh, I am sorry, we weren't aware. Jackie said. I need to see your papers. The guard stated. Oh well, you see, Jackie was shoved aside by Uncle. We have no papers, but you will get a piece of Uncle. The old man showed off his lizard to blast a surge of Kai magic to blast the guard back all the way to the building on the other side of the street. Whoa. Will voiced as everyone looked with wide-eyed surprise. Uncle, the last thing we needed was to cause a commotion. Jackie told his uncle. Bah, you make too much noise making excuses. Uncle brushed off. Oh, so blasting people doesn't make noise. Irma exclaimed. Because I think we drew a crowd. 2 more guards spotted them and saw their comrade had been blasted back and ran towards the group. Time to go, Jackie stated as he gestured for everyone to run with the 2 guards following them. Meanwhile, Caleb was walking down another streetway, trying to come up with a plan with his friend. Aldarn, there's something I need to return in the castle. Nuh-uh. Aldarn shook his head. Ever since you escaped, that place was put under an even heavier guard than normal. You'd need the Guardians of the Veil to get in there. Funny thing to say that, because right as the 2 walked out another street, Caleb was accidentally rammed into by Jackie, Will, and Cornelia as they tripped and fell on top of each other. Uncle and Toru, with Blunk riding on the larger man, stopping Lin, Irma, and Terani from ramming into the pile as well. Wah! Caleb! Jackie exclaimed in surprise. What are all of you doing here? The rebel leader questioned. Never mind that. Lin shouted. Why aren't you wearing these clothes? She exclaimed towards Blunk. Why did you come back to Meridian without telling us? Will questioned. I can handle myself. Caleb brushed himself off as he stood up with everyone else. I wouldn't even need to be here if he hadn't stolen this key. He pointed to Blunk, who ran off in fear as he took out the maniacal key that may decide the fate of his friend. Wait, you're telling me this is all the stink monkey's fault? Irma questioned as they saw that Blunk was long gone. Well duh, Caleb exclaimed. And why were you guys running? We were kinda running from them. Terani pointed behind to see the 2 guards having caught up. Toru ran in front of the group to try and defend them, raising his fists and preparing for a fight when suddenly. Clang! Asterisk! Clang! Asterisk! Both guards fell unconscious as Jade appeared behind them, holding a shovel over her shoulder. Good night, bad guys. Jade! Jackie exclaimed as everyone looked in surprise. What are you doing here? I followed you through the portal, duh. But you were supposed to stay with Miss Lin. Jackie protested. Which Lin? Jade pointed to Lin, who simply shrugged with a smile, indicating she had no idea about this. This caused Jackie to sigh and pull his hand down his face. Okay, rebel boy, the heck are you doing back here? Jade asked Caleb. We risked our lives to get you out of that suck shack of a castle, now you wanna get back in. I have a friend whose life depends on me returning this key. Caleb exclaimed. Why didn't you just tell us that, we could have helped you? Cornelia argued. Maybe because I don't need the Guardians of the Veil to solve all my problems for me. Caleb grunted before Uncle slapped him on the head. Ow. Has rebel leader forgotten that castle is domain of evil? Uncle questioned. One more thing, how can you best Phobos if you face him by accident? I kinda did say the castle is under heavier guard, and Aldarn's eyes widened in surprise as he just picked up what Caleb just said. These are the Guardians. Aldarn pointed in surprise to the group. Well, 5 of them are. The rest are warriors or wizards from Earth who are helping them out. Caleb answered. Yeah, hi. Nice to meet you, Will said. Oh I'm honored. Aldarn bowed his head out of respect. See, your friend has better manners than you. Uncle pointed to Caleb, who simply groaned as he rubbed his forehead. Okay, so we need to return this key to save your friend. Jackie said, making it clear that they are going to help whether Caleb liked it or not. But how are we going to sneak in if it's so heavily guarded? Toru wondered. Let's just walk right through the front door, Jade said as she gestured to a large stack of hay and an empty carriage with a horse at the reins. Everyone looked in wide-eyed surprise at the convenience. That'll work, Irma said. After taking the uniforms from the unconscious guards, the disguised Caleb and Aldarn escorted the horse-drawn basket filled with large hay, which was able to cover Will, Jackie, Jade, Irma, Cornelia, Terani, Lin, Uncle, and even Toru as they crossed the bridge toward the castle's entrance. Hey, for Prince Phobos horses. The disguised Caleb presented to the sentry at the gate. Everyone hiding in the hay remained silent as the sentry gave the okay to pass through, which they all did without any suspicion whatsoever. Dungeon. Vathek was thrown to the ground by Raithor and Alerton. The key has not been found, but you knew that, didn't you? It's time, traitor. Vathek simply sighed as he seemed to accept his imminent fate. The disguised Caleb and Aldarn led the hooded Will, Jackie, Irma, Jade, Terani, Cornelia, Uncle, Toru, Heylin, and Cornelia down a large hallway near the castle's main entrance. So far, they haven't run into any guards yet. This place gives me the creeps. Will said. Let's just hide the key and get out without being noticed. Oh yeah, that's gonna be real easy with such a big group tagging along. Caleb grumbled. Hello. This group saved your life last time we were here. Jade stated. Please, let us not make too much noise. Jackie tried to calm the group. Unfortunately, we can't just hide the key. Aldarn said. It had to be hidden in a specific spot before. But it's been too long, and they may already have Vathek waiting to be executed right now. Well then let's just find this Vathek and get out here. Jade said. Yes, that's probably the best plan. Toru agreed. As they tried to sneak around, Irma reached into an itchy spot in the cloak and pulled out what appeared to be a large tick. Ah, is this small blood-sucking insect what I think it is? Don't say anything, or they'll hear Terani screaming back at school. Will whispered. Quiet, Uncle said in a hiss. Forces of darkness lurk here. We must be very cautious. As the group stopped around a corner, Cornelia ended up walking a bit further up, scratching the itchy cloak. You know, I just hope this is wool or linen because I don't know what it is about synthetic fibers, but they give me such a. She however, stopped once she realized she was standing right at the entranceway to a large mess hall filled with almost 100 guards and lurdans. The creatures were quick to notice her presence as they gave off alarming roars while the guards quickly picked up their weapons. Everyone else came by and saw what kind of trouble they were in right now. Jackie gave a slight gasp at the number of monsters in front of them. Bad day. Yeah, for them. Jade smirked. Will, say the magic words. The redhead took out the heart of Kandrakar. Guardians unite. With another flashy transformation, the 5 girls had transformed into witch and flew directly at the charging horde, with Jackie, Jade, Toru, and Uncle close behind. Aldarn looked in amazement. They really are the Guardians, incredible. Watch out. Caleb was able to draw a sword and block an axe strike from a guard to save his friend. Fight now, be amazed later. Caleb stated. Aldarn shook his head and drew his sword as well to get into the fight too. Jackie ran through a line of guards and lurdans, ducking, jumping, and avoiding every axe and sword that came his way. Bad day, bad day, bad day, bad day, he said repeatedly with each dodge. He slid underneath another strike as he took off his cloak and used it to cover and wrap around the face of one guard and spun his body around to knock down the enemies that were close to him before pushing him forward to knock down 3 more charging lurdans. Jade found herself stuck in the middle of several lurdans and guards, but Heylin was quick to fly in and pick up her friend just as 2 enemies came in and accidentally clashed their heads together. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. Jade winced with a smirk. Terani spun her hands around as several enemies surrounded her as well. I control the power doesn't control me. She told herself as she created 2 large flames in each of her hands. She spun her body around to create a circle of flame to keep the guards back as Terani took to the air with her wings and threw down a large vortex of fire at her enemies. The flames knocked them all down and made their weapons so hot they had to drop them or else get serious burns. Toru delivered a punch to send one guard flying and smashing into the ceiling before grabbing a lurdan by its legs and using the creature as a living weapon to smack and knock down 3 more guards before throwing him all the way to the other side of the mess hall. Uncle stood and wasn't afraid in the least, even as a dozen guards and lurdans approached him with deadly intent. So, you want a piece of Uncle? He took out his dried lizard and a blowfish and fired blasts of Kai magic from them almost like magic pistols, each blast knocking down every enemy that was close to them. Cornelia flew and landed on a table that was surrounded by several enemies herself. She tried to think of any earth items she could use. No sand, no flowers, but, wait, don't plants and wood come from earth as well? She smiled, realizing the wooden table she was standing on. She smirked as she used her powers to bring the table up and controlled it like a puppet as the table spun around, its legs punching and knocking back the enemies that were nearby. "Kay, I know I need control and discipline and all that," Irma said as several enemies were coming toward her. "But who says you can't go all out? She smirked almost evilly as she shot her hands forward to create a stream of water to blast her enemies back. She then trapped her enemies in a large sphere of water which she hovered in the air before purposely losing control and letting the water explode to send all the previously trapped enemies flying everywhere. Will took a combative stance as one guard approached her. She ducked underneath his sword and grabbed both his hands before pulling him over her body and used her enhanced strength to throw him far and into two more approaching guards. Another guard tried to attack, but she used her wings to fly above the axe strike and gave an airborne cartwheel kick to his face to send him flying to the ceiling before giving a roundhouse to knock back two more Lurdans. Flying magic kung fu, she said to herself. I could get used to this. Lin flew Jade to a safer place near the corner as they saw Caleb and Aldarn being cornered by a group of guards. Jade noticed the large chandelier that was over the guards and smirked. Hey Lin, I don't think I like the decorations here. The air guardian noticed what Jade was pointing to and smirked. Then let's get rid of it. She created an air sphere in her hand and compressed it into an air disc which she threw toward the chain connecting the chandelier to the ceiling, which severed on contact and fell to crash into the guards. Hey Lin and Jade high-fived at their success. Will and Jackie found themselves back to back as they took down several more Lurdans, only to be startled by an Aya. As they turned to see a guard grabbing Uncle and holding his sword close to his neck. Get back, or the old man gets it. The guard warned. Jackie glared at the guard threatening his uncle, when Will suddenly got an idea. Hey Uncle, how do you spray for bugs again? Uncle got her message. Oh, like this. He stomped hard on the guard's foot, possibly breaking it. The guard yelled in pain as he let go of Uncle and held his broken foot. One more thing. Uncle told the guard before delivering a palm strike to his chest, causing him to fall unconscious. Will smiled. Go Uncle. Even Jackie smiled as he rubbed Will's hair. With several more punches and kicks, sword slices, blasts of fire, wind, water, and Kai magic, as well as a living table, pretty much every guard in the room had fallen and laid beaten on the ground. Now that was fun, Irma voiced. That was, wow. Aldarn could hardly believe it. Over 100 guards and you took them all down like they were nothing. Jade smirked. Yep. Expect nothing less from J-Witch. Celebrate later. We have a mission, Jackie reminded. That's right, follow me. Caleb motioned for the whole group to follow him deeper into the castle. Vathek looked deep into the abyss of shadows. It was impossible to see anything down there. This seemed to be his fate, but he was at least glad he did what he could to help the rebellion. They say, you fall forever. Raithor said as he stood with a Lurdan. Of course, we'll never know, but you will. Say hello to the other conspirators for me. Why don't you tell them yourself? Raithor turned around in surprise to see Jade's foot before it made contact with his face, knocking him out. The Lurdan was about to attack but felt a pinch on its neck before it fell to the ground in unconsciousness as well, courtesy of Uncle. Everyone else came in, but before Vathek could even ask what was going on, he recognized his two comrades. Caleb, Aldarn. He grabbed both of them by the shoulders in a near-crushing embrace. Easy, easy. Aldarn winced along with Caleb. It's good to see you to Vathek. The blue giant let go of both his comrades as Caleb introduced his companions. My good friend Vathek, these are the guardians of the Veil, and warriors of Earth known as the Chan clan. There were several highs and hellos from everyone, save for Uncle who simply nodded. Whoa big guy, you look like the coolest rebel ever. Jade smiled, taking a liking to Vathek's big and muscular appearance. Thank you. Vathek wasn't sure how to respond to that compliment. I brought the key. Caleb took out the manacle key, but Vathek sighed knowing it wouldn't do any good. Too late. They've searched everywhere, they know it's not here. Its sudden appearance would do me no good now. Then let's just get out of here. Irma said. We still need someone inside Phobos ranks however. Aldarn replied. If he finds the true heir before we do, it may be too late to stop him. Will began to think as she looked to the knocked out Raithor and an idea popped in her head. She snapped her fingers. I think I got it. Call out an alarm. What? Vathek didn't understand what was going on. Scream for help. You know, intruders. Guardians. Will explain. Caleb give me the key, Jackie punch Vathek. Excuse me. Jackie was quite surprised with that request. Jade saw what Will was doing. Oh, I get it. The old switcheroo. Make the other guy look like the real spy. Everyone seemed to get it, and it was actually a rather brilliant idea. Caleb gave Will the key as Vathek called the alarm. Guardians. Intruders in the castle. Help. Will quickly hid the key in the unconscious Raythor's armor just as the alarm horn was blown, alerting the entire castle. Jackie walked up to Vathek. Sorry about this. Do what you have to do. Vathek understood. Jackie nodded before delivering a punch to Vathek's face to knock him down. Jackie winced as he waved his hand, his knuckles sore. Don't move. Will whispered to Vathek as the group of heroes turned around to see a large gathering of guards and Lurdans, personal being led by Cedric and Daolon Wong. You. Cedric hissed as he glared at the intruders, particularly Toru, who narrowed his eyes at Cedric in return. Sorry guys, no time for a rematch. Jade told the enemy forces. Adios. She shouted as Cornelia used her powers to bring down several stalagmites to create a large dust cloud, while Heilin created a large whirlwind around her body to spread the dust cloud out even further. Do not let them escape. Wong tried to call out, but it was already too late. Will flew Jackie and Jade, Terani carried Uncle and Aldarn, Cornelia carried Caleb, and both Heilin and Irma carried Toru as they flew downward and made their escape through the same way as before. The dust cleared to reveal the heroes were long gone, save for Vathek, who remained as still as possible, a bruise on his face to make it look like he was attacked as well. Search all of the tunnels. Wong ordered the guards and Lurdans as they turned around to run and search. Raythor regained consciousness but looked in shock to see Cedric and Wong both approach him. We were taken by surprise. Must have come to save this traitor. He said, referring to Vathek. Then why did they leave him? Cedric questioned. And why did he call the alarm? He picked up Raythor by his armor, but as he did, the key that Will slipped in had fallen out. Well, Wong said as he picked up the key. What do we have here? Cedric saw the key and hissed towards Raythor. No, I didn't. Raythor pleaded as Cedric threw him towards Wong. Take him to Phobos. Wong did just that as he grabbed Raythor's shoulder and vanished with him in a puff of blue smoke. Vathek stood up as Cedric looked down toward him, convinced of his innocence. All right, back to your post. He ordered before slithering away. Vathek sighed. Though he was relieved his life was spared and his cover would remain intact, there was a twinge of sympathy for Raythor. Knowing Phobos, he would not take this treachery lightly. Phobos, throne room. The Dark Prince looked in surprise to see Daolon Wong suddenly appear in the middle of his throne, along with Raythor, whom the Dark Wizard threw to the ground. What is the meaning of this? Phobos stood up from his throne. My prince, Vathek was innocent. Wong began. But as it turns out, Raythor had the key all along. He presented the manacle key in his hand. What? Phobos exclaimed. My prince, no. It's a lie. I never had it. Raythor pleaded. The Guardians and Jackie Chan were here in the castle recently. Wong said, getting Phobos' attention. But they left Vathek, the suspect, behind. Size show he was ambushed as well, and he called the alarm. If he was allied with the rebellion, they would have brought him with them during their escape. If I was a traitor, they would have taken me with them. Raythor exclaimed. But they left me behind. Perhaps you aren't allied with the rebellion, but you certainly aren't as loyal to the prince as you claim. Wong said. Maybe seeking to claim the throne for yourself. I would never. Raythor yelled. My prince, you've known me since you were a boy. I was loyal to your mother and your father. I protected you when the entire kingdom turned against you. I would never betray you. Evidence points to the contrary. Wong argued. Enough. Phobos exclaimed, silencing the argument. Raythor had the key. Yes, Cedric can confirm this as well. Wong answered. My prince, I don't. Raythor's pleas however fell on deaf ears. Take him to the abyss of shadows. Phobos ordered, causing Raythor to look in utter horror. No. He shouted as Wong's 3 Dark Kai warriors suddenly appeared around him and seized him. No. Please. Phobos. Gon, Ren, and Kui all vanished with Raythor and would throw him into the same pit he almost threw Vathek into. Phobos sat back down on his throne as his own hands began to shake. His face was hardened, though his eyes twitched. Raythor, the only person who believed him when he said he didn't kill his parents, has betrayed him. This was unbelievable and unacceptable. Phobos trusted Raythor, almost considered him a friend. But this. My prince. Wong tried to sound as humble as possible. I understand this must be hard for you, considering how much you trusted and respected Raithor. However, in times such as this, it is important to know that you can never really trust anyone. Wong was suddenly blasted across the chamber by a blast of magic energy shot from Phobos' hand, his face filled with rage. Your advice is noted. Phobos hissed. Now leave me. Wong struggled to pull himself up. Yes, my prince. He growled as he left the room, leaving Phobos alone with his thoughts. As the Dark Prince sat in silence, he came to his own conclusion that would only drive him further into darkness. I trust no one. Earth. The next day. Welcome in, guys. Jade said to Will, Irma, Cornelia, and Terani as they stepped into the shop. Welcome to Uncle's Rare Finds. She presented Uncle's titular show, which looked almost exactly like it did back in San Francisco. What you think? The four girls looked around as Jackie, Uncle, and Toru walked into the main room as well. Looks kinda nice, Will said. Almost like a mini museum. Like a knick-knack shop without the snow globes. Irma said. Though she probably wouldn't buy anything from here, it seemed like a nice place to hang out in. Some of this stuff looks okay. Cornelia looked around. But I'm not into that junky old stuff, ow. Do not disrespect Uncle's shop. Uncle exclaimed after giving yet another dope slap to Cornelia, causing Jade, Will, and Irma to laugh at her expense. Whoa. Terani's eyes were fixed on a certain artifact, a purple vase with a golden Chinese dragon pattern on it. Never seen a vase like this before. It's definitely Chinese, maybe even from the Ling dynasty. Ah. Uncle smiled. You know a thing or two about antiques. Yes, this is Uncle's one-of-a-kind vase. Uncle only acquires unique antiques. Yeah, probably do a lot better with the real stuff than those cheap replicas people make. Terani said. Cheap replicas. Those people have no respect for history. Uncle agreed. Tell me about it. Terani rolled her eyes. I see things sold online saying they're the real deal, well they're not. As the two conversed, everyone else looked in minor surprise. It would seem those two are going to get along just fine. Jackie smiled. God help us all. Cornelia muttered, hoping that Terani didn't turn out like the old man. Yeah, I think this be a cool place to hang out. Will said. Just be careful with the books and artifacts in the back. Toru advised. That's where all the magical items are stored. Yeah, don't wanna accidentally sell Pandora's box. Jade joked. You have Pandora's box? Irma questioned. Jade was kidding. Jackie assured. But either way, you are all welcomed here anytime. Thanks, Jackie. Will smiled. Toru noticed a certain girl wasn't with them. Where's Lin? The silver dragon. The aforementioned girl was in the basement of her family's restaurant, along with her grandmother and Caleb as they watched her dress someone up. At first, I wasn't sure how it would look with your skin tone. But I was right. Lin smiled as Blunk looked like he was dressed like an old-fashioned airplane pilot. You're much more of a spring than an autumn. She put a black robe over him. He looks like an overgrown raisin. Caleb cracked. Lin pouted while Blunk gave a slight glare. Caleb jealous. The pasling said. Blunk, the bomb. He jumped off the stool as his robe pulled on a record player, accidentally playing it as a classic rock song boomed through the speakers. Blunk and Lin immediately danced to the tune. You go Blunk. Ling laughed with him as they continued to dance. Even Yan Lin danced with them. Hey, shall we, get down, rebel boy. The old woman teased Caleb as she danced along with her granddaughter and the pasling. Caleb smiled but shook his head. I thought all earthlings were strange. But I'm beginning to think it's just the females. Need a dark hand. Section 13, a specialized law enforcement agency utilized to take down powerful criminals such as crime lords, and other deadly individuals. However, underneath its professional appearance, this organization also deals with magic on the sly as its underground base in San Francisco is used to hold powerful magical artifacts. With it being the dead of night, no one would expect any real movement within the facility. That is until an air duct opened from the ceiling and 4 ropes came down. Sliding down each rope is a man, all of whom wore black suits. 2 were rather skinny, one had a pair of yellow sunglasses and the other had red hair. Another one was rather large with pale skin, while the last one was the largest, very imposing, with long red hair and a thin mustache and beard. Ow. Ratso accidentally yelled after landing hard on his rear. SSHH. Finn and Chow hushed him so they wouldn't be spotted. Led by Hawk Fu, the four of them slid along a wall where a single guard was on patrol with a flashlight around the corner. Hawk Fu motioned them to be quiet as he quickly and quietly jumped from his spot and landed behind the guard. Silent leopard kill, Hawk Fu said in a whisper as he put the guard in a sleeper hold to knock him out before taking his ID card as the guard fell to the floor. In just a short time span, the four crooks came to a large vault door where Hawk Fu put in the stolen ID card into the lock panel on the side to unlock it. The vault door opened to reveal in the center of the room was a single glass container with 12 small stone items inside, each one bore the mark of a specific animal of the Chinese zodiac. The dog, the rat, the tiger, the pig, the snake, the monkey, the rooster, the sheep, the horse, the ox, the rabbit, and finally the dragon. Score. Finn smirked. Sweet. Chow rubbed his hands together in anticipation. The talismans, Ratso said excitedly. And with them, unlimited power is finally within our grasp. Hawk Fu exclaimed as he delivered a hand chop to the container, shattering the glass. But the second he did, alarms began to sound off all throughout the facility. Within just a few short seconds, pretty much every agent in Section 13 had all gathered at the entrance to the vault and pointed their guns and the four intruders with Captain Black at the lead. Hands in the air, punks. Game's over, Captain Black ordered. Out of instinct, Finn, Ratso, and Chow threw their hands up in the air, but Hawk Fu did not. Oh no, the game has only just begun. Hawk Fu smiled evilly as he already put most of the talismans in a sack, but held the rabbit talisman in his hand. The insignia began to glow as Hawk Fu used its power of speed to quickly grab his cohorts and make a quick escape. Black Tiger escapes Eagle's Nest. Hawk Fu shouted as he used the rabbit talisman's super speed to barrel his way past the agents before they could even blink, knocking them all down as Hawk Fu ran through the facility, Finn, Ratso, and Chow screaming and holding onto Hawk Fu for dear life. While running, Hawk Fu also took out the Ox Talisman and used the strength it provided to literally smash through the wall at the other end of the facility and escape out into the street. All the agents groaned as they tried to pull themselves up, while Captain Black looked in annoyance in the direction the dark-hand criminals escaped before groaning as he slapped his hand down his face. Valment stood in a warehouse, looking out the window as a storm continued through the night, rain splashing down on the window. He looked out with lightning flashing throughout the sky. He stood patiently, his cane in his hands as he held himself in a very professional manner. He heard the door open behind him. "I trust you have succeeded in your mission?" he asked, turning around to see Hawk Fu standing tall, while Finn, Ratso, and Chow looked incredibly tired. "We have." Hawk Fu bowed his head. "It was rough, Big V," Finn said in between breaths along with his two pals. "Almost got caught," Ratso added. "But we got M." Chow finished. Hawk Fu walked toward Valment and opened the bag to show the talismans, causing the crime lord to smile evilly. "Excellent, now that we have the talismans, and now that I am free from that pestilent lizard Shendu," Valment reached into the bag to pull out the dragon talisman. "The dark hand shall rise again." He held it high as the dragon insignia on the talisman began to glow. 2 days later, Heatherfield. "Valment," Jackie exclaimed as he spoke over the phone with Captain Black. "I'm afraid so, Jackie." Captain Black began. 2 days ago, his goons broke into Section 13 and were able to make off with the talismans. Since then, they've been hitting every major bank and museum across the country, making their way closer towards the East Coast, specifically New York. "I understand banks, but why museums?" Jackie asked. "Best guess, they're looking to sell the artifacts they've stolen on the black market and use the finances to rebuild their crime syndicate." Captain Black answered. "And if I had to guess why they're heading to the East Coast, they're probably thinking you still live in San Francisco. Meaning, they won't expect you to be there." "But, I live in Heatherfield now, not New York," Jackie said. "I know, but satellite tracking shows that the Dark Hand are gonna end up going through Heatherfield to get to their next destination," Captain Black informed. "I'm already on my way there in Section 13's fastest aircraft. We should be there later this afternoon. Look, I know you're eager to get on with your life, my friend, but I need your help." "Jackie, please." Jackie sighed as he knew his friend was right. He knew the talismans and Valment better than anyone, he's dealt with them multiple times before, so if he could stop them now, hopefully Valment and the other members of the Dark Hand could finally be arrested. Alright, I'll meet you later. Jackie said. Thank you Jackie, see you soon. Captain Black hung up. Jackie opened the door out of his room but was surprised to see his niece already there. Hey Jackie. Wah. Jade, you're supposed to be getting ready for school. I'm all packed up and everything. Jade showed her backpack to show she was already packed. So, Valment's back and he's packing the talismans again, huh? Jackie knew he couldn't work his way around this. Jade was both smart and cunning, too much for her own good. Yes, it would seem so. Well, we got a surprise for him. Jade smirked. As Uncle always said, magic must defeat magic. And we've got 5 super-powered magic weapons ready to knock those losers down a peg. Let's see what happens when the Dark Hand meets J-Witch. Jackie looked in surprise at that proclamation. You want to have Will and the others fight Valment? Duh. Jade said. I mean, come on. They've already taken on a Dark Prince, an evil wizard, and a giant snake man in another dimension. Phobos may be no Shendu, but Valment's got nothing on Phobos, talismans are not. Plus, he's got those 3 stooges with him, what are they gonna do? Hawk Fu is with them as well. Jackie said, causing Jade to look a bit nervous. Ooh, yeah, he could be trouble. Jade groaned before getting back on track. But you've taken that guy down before. You take Hawk Fu, the girls take down Mo, Larry, and Curly, and we all kick Valment's butt together. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Jade, look, I have no doubt the girls could hold their own against the Dark Hand, but it's not the same as fighting Phobos. Jackie began to explain. Why not? Jade questioned. Think about, Valment has plenty of resources at his disposal. Jackie continued. If he should learn of the girls' identities, it could put their families in danger. But, Jade, I can handle Valment and the Dark Hand with Section 13, but you have to promise me you won't involve Will or any of the others. Promise me that, Jackie told her. The girl gave a deep sigh, knowing how stubborn Jackie could be. Okay, I promise I won't get them involved. Jackie smiled. Good, now let's get you downstairs. We need to get you to school. As Jackie led his niece downstairs, she began to pout a bit. She wasn't dense, she knew that Valment was indeed dangerous, but the Guardians are just as dangerous themselves. Suddenly an idea came to her, that caused her to smirk. Jackie had her promise that she wouldn't get the girls directly involved, but that wasn't to say, she couldn't at least warn them. Sheffield Institute, lunchtime. The Dark Hand. Will questioned as she, Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Haylin all sat with Jade at a table in the school's cafeteria. Yep, they used to be a major crime syndicate back in San Francisco, now they're just some thugs hopping to scrape by. Jade explained. What kind of a name is, the Dark Hand, anyway? Cornelia questioned. Like something out of a comic book. They're trying to advertise that they're evil. I kinda like it, Haylin said. Sounds like the name of a group of supervillains. Jade, didn't you say they were involved with demons or something? Terani asked. Well, sort of. Jade gave the sum of it. Shendu basically tricked them into getting his talismans, then he turned into a ghost and possessed their boss, Valment, and tried to get him to open these portals to let his demon family out, but we beat them every time. Sounds like fun, Irma said. So, they got superpowers too or what? They got the talismans again. Jade explained as she reached into her backpack and pulled out a scroll. Each one has its own special power. She showed them the picture of the 12 talismans, all in a circle. Hey, isn't that scroll from your uncle's shop? Terani asked. I only borrowed it, and I'm gonna put it back later. Jade said before getting back on point. Okay, so there are 12 talismans in total, each one for one animal of the Chinese zodiac. She began to point out each individual talisman. The dragon talisman is combustion, you basically shoot fire from it. That seems pretty straightforward. Will said. Dragons do breathe fire. Right. Jade continued. The ox talisman gives you super strength, the rabbit talisman is super speed, the rooster is levitation, oh, and if you put rabbit and rooster together, you can fly. That's so cool. Haylin beamed. We fly already, I don't really see why we need those for that when we can just transform. Cornelia said. Anyway, Jade continued. The snake talisman makes you invisible, the monkey talisman is shapeshifting, the sheep talisman is astral projection, the pig gives you heat beam eyes. Whoa, back up. Irma interrupted. Heat beam eyes. Like heat vision. Yeah, I gotta agree with Irma. Will said. I get ox is strength and rabbit is speed, but since when do pigs shoot laser eyes? I don't know, I didn't make this thing up. Jade stated. So, as I was saying, the rat talisman is motion to the motionless, you basically bring statues and stuff to life. Oh, so for my next history test, I could just use that at Mount Rushmore and talk to the presidents. Irma said. Ooh, what if you used that bring the dead back to life? Hey Lin wondered. That would be so killer for Halloween. Well, I don't know about that one. Jade said. I've never seen it happen, and I'm not in the mood to raise any zombies. So, what about the other talismans? Terani asked. Right, well the dog talisman is immortality, and the horse is healing. Jade continued. Isn't that kind of redundant though? Cornelia asked. No, immortality means you just can't die, it still hurts though. Jade explained. Healing can fix up any injuries you got from paper cuts, to broken bones, you can even cure diseases. Wow, magic cure for cancer. Cool. Irma said. And finally, the tiger talisman, which represents balance. Jade said. What do you mean balance? Will asked. As in, you can never fall. Spiritual balance. Jade corrected. Like yin and yang. It's a pretty useless power on its own, but this one time when it broke, Jackie got split into two different Jackies, one good, one bad. That got all 5 of the girls' attention. An evil Jackie Chan? Irma questioned. Yeah, I don't see it. Kinda hard to imagine, considering Jackie's such a good guy. Terani agreed. Oh, Jackie Dark wasn't evil, just a real jerk. Jade pouted. But yeah, that's it. The 12 talismans of the Chinese zodiac. And this bad guy named Valment has all of them. Will asked. Yeah. Jade nodded as she put the scroll back in her backpack. So why tell us all this? Cornelia asked. Oh, I know. Jackie wants us to fight these guys. Hey Lin beamed excitedly. Actually no. Jade said, causing the 5 to look at her in confusion, even saying, huh. In response. Apparently, Uncle Jackie says Valment's resources make him dangerous, so he had me promise that I not get you involved. But you literally just told us, Terani. I was warning you guys. Jade began to explain. Apparently the Dark Hand is gonna come through Heatherfield soon, so if you guys see fire in the skies or flying cars, you know what's causing it. But like I said, I'm only warning you cause Jackie had me promise not to involve you. You guys didn't make any promises like that, and what you decide to do with what I just told you guys, is up to you. She finished with a smirk. The 5 girls looked towards each other as Cornelia and Irma both smirked. Wow Jade, you're quite the evil mastermind. Cornelia said with amusement. Yep, you're a real sly fox. Irma smirked as well. I try. Jade put her hands behind her head with pride. Will however didn't seem as enthusiastic. But if Jackie says, hey, you guys took on a dark lord in an evil dimension and won. Jade said, honestly, the only thing Valment's got going for him is a guy called Hawk Fu, who is pretty good with kung fu, but other than him, the other guys are total morons. If Jackie, Uncle, and Toru can beat them up, I'm sure you guys can too. Well, speaking from a technical standpoint, Terani began. It would help us to use our powers in real fights. Experience does help. Well, I'm all for it. Hey Lin beamed. I mean, we've got superpowers and we're fighting real-life bad guys. We're basically superheroes right now. From what Jade says, these guys won't even be a real challenge. Irma also said. Plus, we know what kind of powers these talisman things got, so we should be alright. Cornelia voiced. Will looked around and saw all 5 of her friends bearing confident expressions. Soon, the leader of the Guardians followed with a confident smile of her own as she clenched her fist. Let's do it. Sometime later, Jackie had already met up with Captain Black as they rode in a Humvee with several other Section 13 transports behind them. Augustus, I'm surprised they let you come all the way across the country. Jackie said. Isn't Heatherfield outside Section 13's jurisdiction? I told them about Valment's escape and that he was packing dangerous weapons, and yes I was able to avoid using the M word, so they gave me the green light. Captain Black responded. But are you sure the Dark Hand is really here? Valment could have chosen a different route instead of traveling through Heatherfield. Jackie asked. However, before Captain Black could respond, they both saw a large explosion several blocks away, almost in direct response to Jackie's question. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're here, Captain Black said before he drove off in that direction, followed by the rest of Section 13. Multiple people ran away from the bank, all screaming and shouting as Chow shot blasts of fire up into the sky with the dragon talisman to try and keep everyone back. Once everyone was cleared, he turned around and used the strength of the ox talisman to punch a hole into the building, revealing a large vault door, which he broke down with another blast from the dragon talisman to reveal a large room with huge bags and sacks of money. Payday fellas, Chow said with a grin as Finn and Ratso walked forward. Using the rooster talisman, Finn telekinetically picked up multiple bags and began to load them into a large truck that Hawk Fu was driving as Ratso used the speed from the rabbit talisman to zoom in and grab the other bags. It took now less than 2 minutes for the entire vault to be cleared. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Finn shouted as he high-fived his buddies. We're never losing these things again. He opened his coat to reveal the 4 talismans he had: pig, rooster, dog, and tiger. Ratso and Chow did the same thing with their jackets or coats to show their talismans. Ratso had the snake, rabbit, horse, and sheep, while Chow had the dragon, ox, monkey, and rat. Yeah, and we bagged it all without any trouble from. Ratso didn't finish as they all looked in surprise to see multiple SWAT vehicles, all owned by Section 13 drive up. The lead Humvee stopped as the passenger door opened to reveal Jackie Chan. That guy, Ratso moaned as Finn and Chow looked in disbelief. Captain Black stepped out next as he pulled out a megaphone. Freeze punks, he shouted to the Dark Hand goons as Finn and Ratso responded with I-beams and fire blasts respectively at the Section 13 agents, forcing them all to run and take cover as most of their vehicles were completely totaled. Jackie and Captain Black tried to get away but were caught off guard by Ratso, who zoomed in with super speed from the rabbit talisman and turned invisible with the snake talisman. Jackie and Black tried to form back to back to prepare themselves, but Captain Black was the first to be knocked down by an invisible punch. Acting quickly, Jackie ducked and swept his feet and was able to knock the invisible Ratso down, causing him to turn visible as he hit the ground. However, Jackie didn't have time to recuperate as he had to take cover once again from Finn's I-beams while also using the rooster talisman to hover in the air and blast Jackie. Hey, we gotta go, Chow exclaimed as he was quick to help up Ratso, who used the speed from the rooster talisman to carry both him and Chow back to the truck, which Finn flew towards. Hawk Fu immediately pressed on the gas pedal to drive the truck away from the bank. Jackie helped up the groaning Captain Black as he could only sigh. Bad day. Meanwhile, Will, Terani, Cornelia, Irma, and Hei Lin had all gathered together in an alleyway near a construction site, at least 6 blocks west of the bank where the explosion just went off. Is anyone else totally excited about this? Hei Lin beamed. I know I said it before, but we're real superheroes right now. Hei Lin, try to focus, Terani told her. These are dangerous criminals with powerful magic items. It's not a game. Pretty sure though these guys aren't any worse than Phobos, Cornelia said. Yeah, you can take them in their sleep, Jade said as she suddenly appeared next to the blonde. Glad you agree with me, Jade. Cornelia smiled before her eyes widened as she looked towards the girl in surprise. Jade, how did you get here? Jade gave her titular scoff. Like I was gonna miss this. Irma smirked. Houdini's got nothing on you, Jade. I try. Jade smirked as well. Guys, get your heads in the game. I think I see them. Will got everyone's attention as she looked out the alleyway and onto the street to see the truck speeding in their direction. Yeah, that's probably them, Jade remarked, considering the truck was driving like a bat out of hell. Now let's get this party started. Will took out the crystal pendant known as the Heart of Kandrakar and said the magic words. Guardians unite. What the heck is Chan doing here? Finn exclaimed as Hawk Fu continued to drive. Thought he was still in San Fran. Maybe on vacation or something. Ratso guessed with a shrug. Doubt it. Black must have called him. Chow guessed. You are all cowards for running away like this. Hawk Fu scolded. You wield the powers of the talismans, yet you don't even stand your ground. Hey, You wanna take on Chan the Terminator, be my guest. Finn protested. As they continued to argue, they failed to notice a fire hydrant on a sidewalk beginning to shake before it suddenly burst. A powerful stream of water sending the outlet cap blasting out like a bullet, slamming into the right front wheel of the truck, causing the entire vehicle to spiral out of control. All four men screamed as the truck veered off the road and straight into a construction site, which thankfully didn't have any workers around, and crashed hard on its side right into a stack of girders. The door at the top opened as all four members of the Dark Hand climbed out with groans before falling on the ground. "Excuse me boys, I think you forgot to pay for all that." They looked up in surprise to see the 5 guardians of the veil floating above them. "But don't worry, we accept cash, check, or teeth." Irma finished with a smirk. The 4 looked gobsmacked to say the least. Think I may have hit my head too hard, but are we seeing fairies?" Ratso questioned. "We've seen magic ninjas, dragons, and demons, so how come we're still not used to this?" Chow complained. "It does not matter." Hawk Fu stood up. "I shall pluck their wings like the insects they are." He jumped high into the air. Angry Crow takes flight. He leapt and tried to deliver a kick, forcing the 5 flying girls to fly around and avoid it, but they had to fly even more to avoid the fire and I-beams shot at them by Finn and Chow respectively. As the battle between the Guardians and the Dark Hand began, Jade made her way toward the construction site and watched with an eager grin. "Oh, this is gonna be good." Using the Rooster Talisman, Finn chased after Lin while trying to blast her with the laser beams from the Pig Talisman. They flew into the unfinished building, up and around the maze of girders. He continued to fly after her and blast in her direction, but Lin was much too fast and nimble, avoiding every blast as she flew above, below, and around every girder she came across. After getting some distance away, Lin twirled her body to form a windy tornado, pulling in Finn. When he was close enough, Lin got rid of her twister as she delivered an airborne kick to Finn to knock him down onto an unfinished floor closer towards the ground. Irma landed on the ground as she squared off with Ratso. My mama told me never to hit girls." "Well, that makes things easier," Irma said as she threw her hands forward to blast a torrent of water at Ratso, but he was able to quickly avoid it with the speed of the rabbit talisman and zoomed behind Irma. Before she could even react, he already held her in a tight bear hug. "But a bear hug ain't exactly fighting," Ratso told her as Irma struggled in his grip. "Just watch where you're grabbing," Irma exclaimed before she flew into the air, with Ratso still hanging on. She then fell back to the ground, making sure Ratso took the impact, causing him to let go of Irma as she stood up. However, Ratso quickly flashed the snake talisman and vanished from sight, much to Irma's surprise. "Oh, right, invisibility," she groaned a bit in annoyance. Chow used the dragon talisman to shoot blasts of fire at Terani, who flew to avoid each shot. "Nice trick," Terani said, "but you're not the only one who plays with fire." She created a fireball in her hand before she threw it at Chow, forcing him to roll and avoid it. He retaliated with another fire blast at Terani, who threw more fireballs at him. The bespectacled guardian created one large fireball and threw it at Chow, who shot at it with another blast from the dragon talisman. Both hit each other, resulting in an explosion with enough force to knock them both back. Chow tried to pull himself up, but quickly noticed a small pile of girders near Terani as she rubbed her head. He smirked with an idea as he pulled out both the monkey and rat talismans, shooting the magic from them both at the girders, simultaneously transforming them into giant metal snakes and bringing them to life. Terani gave a loud gasp as the metal snakes suddenly coiled themselves around her and lifted her into the air. Shape-shifting and motion to the motionless. Terani grunted. "Yeah, that's a pretty good combo." Will landed on a girder in the construction site that was 15 feet off the ground and came face to face with Hawk Fu as he jumped up on the same girder. "Okay pal, just give up those talisman thingies, and no one gets hurt." Will tried to make a solid combat stance. "You seek the talismans, do you?" Hawk Fu took his own kung fu stance as he motioned his hand for her to bring it. "1-on-1. Cornelia flew in right beside Will. "How about 2-on-1? She challenged with a smirk of confidence before flying straight towards Hawk Fu. The red-haired man gave a warrior's yell as he leapt into the air. Black Tiger crushes Blonde Fairy. He delivered an airborne kick to Cornelia to knock her down hard onto the ground, Fortunately, she landed on a pile of sand, so the impact wasn't too hard. Cornelia. Will was about to fly down and help her, but she just barely avoided a punch from Hawk Fu, who was on the attack. Mad Monkey Kung Fu. He threw a series of punches at her, which she tried to block and avoid using what little defensive techniques Jackie taught her in her own enhanced strength. Snake Cuts Grass. Hawk Fu gave a sweeping kick to knock her off her feet and would have sent her falling off the girder, but she flapped her wings hard to halt her fall as she flew up at high speeds and was able to deliver a flying uppercut right into Hawk Fu's jaw that sent him flying and falling off the girder, but he landed on his feet and was more than ready to attack again. However, before Hawk Fu could even make a move, he was suddenly forced back by a large mound of dirt that shot up from the ground, courtesy of an angry Cornelia. "Oh, you are gonna regret hitting me." Will flew down by her friend's side. "You doing okay? I'll be much better after we take down this loser." She used her earth powers to solidify several mounds of sand which she sent directly at Hawk Fu, who actually ran towards them. Sword slices through sand. He gave several fierce chops that actually sliced through the mounds as he quickly ran towards the two guardians. Scorpion stings butterflies. He tried to deliver 2 strikes toward Will and Cornelia, but they flew into the air to avoid them. "Okay, he's gotta be making this stuff up," Will stated. "Yeah, he sounds like one of those corny dubbed kung fu movies." Cornelia agreed before they both flew back down towards the fight. Meanwhile, Captain Black was able to make it to the scene via a motorcycle, with Jackie riding on the back. However, right as they stopped, they looked in surprise to see the clash of elemental magic against the various talisman powers. Jackie looked in shock while Captain Black's expression was more of gobsmacked. Jackie's expression of shock, however, quickly turned into one of annoyance as he sighed. Jade. Irma kept looking around for the invisible Ratso, only to be tripped and pushed to the ground by him. "Hey, I thought you said you don't hit girls." "I'm not," the invisible Ratso protested. "I'm just tripping and pushing, that's not hitting." Irma groaned as she tried to pick herself up but looked in minor surprise to see some footsteps in a small puddle. She smirked as an idea came into her mind. She flew up into the air and created a large ball of water in her hands before exploding it outward around the area like rain. She spotted water covering an invisible mass that was trying to brush it off. "Ah, and I just got this clean," Ratso complained as he was spotted, leaving him open for Irma to fly in and deliver a kick to his chest to send him flying straight into a pile of roads and pipes. He had turned visible again, but his injuries were quickly healed by the horse talisman. However, Ratso felt something vibrate in his pocket. He took out his phone and answered it. "What in the world is taking you so long?" Valment exclaimed from the other line. Would you believe me if I told you we were fighting magical fairies?" Ratso asked nervously, only to hear a yell on the other line and a crash. It was probably Valment throwing the phone to the floor and stomping on it in frustration. Heylin meanwhile kept flying to avoid more laser eye blasts from Finn, who also telekinetically lifted several bricks and pipes via the rooster talisman and threw them at the airborne Heylin. Catch! However, Heylin wasn't the least bit scared. She actually smiled as she created a large, spinning, air sphere that not only caught all the stuff thrown at her, but she even turned her body to spin like a top before throwing the stuff back at Finn. "Back at ya!" Finn comically screamed as he hovered and flew, barely avoiding each item. He then looked angrily at Heylin before blasting at her again with his eye beams from the pig talisman. Once again, Finn chased Heylin as he tried to blast at her. She flew up and then up even higher to avoid another blast. However, that one blast in particular hit an unmanned crane, causing it to lose its balance. Heylin flew behind Finn, who turned around and happened to back underneath the crane that was already about to fall. Heylin noticed it and looked in worry. "Look out! Behind you!" she tried to warn as the crane already began to fall. "Yeah right, like I'm gonna fall for." Finn suddenly turned around and looked in shock just as the crane hit him. He was able to fly and get some distance but was still nailed in the back by the extended part of the crane and fell till he hit the ground hard just in front of where the crane crashed. Heylin flew down and looked at him with concern. "Hey, are you okay?" Finn groaned with a dazed look in his eyes. "Immortality hurts." Terraini appeared to be struggled in the grip of the metal snakes and looked to see Chow holding a girder like a baseball bat, no doubt using the strength of the ox talisman. "Sorry about this kid, but you should have stayed out of our way." Chow looked as though he was ready to clobber her, but Terani actually smiled mischievously. Hey, quick science question. You know the melting point of steel. What are you talking about? Chow asked in confusion, only to look in shock to see the metal snakes around her melting away. Terani had been using her fire element to increase her own body temperature to the point that it got too hot for the snakes, formerly girders, to stay solid as they melted in a pile of molten metal. Terani smirked as she held two flames in her hands while Chow looked with a nervous smile. Shredding lion claws. Hawk Fu attempted to strike Will, but she was able to avoid all the attacks. He was suddenly thrown in the air by a burst of dirt from Cornelia, but he was able to straighten himself out as he fell towards the blonde with his foot. Falling anvil. However, Will was able to fly and catch his foot using her strength. My turn. She spun her body in the air rapidly, at a point that not even Hawk Fu could counter before she finally let go. Red Fairy tosses bad guy. She had let him loose, and he had crashed hard onto the ground, leaving a trail as he skidded to a halt. That sounded really lame, didn't it? Will asked with a sigh. Yeah, but that toss was cool. Cornelia complimented as they both looked to see Hawk Fu standing up. Try as you may, but the black tiger cannot fall. I shall. He suddenly gave a howl in pain as a steel pipe came up between his legs and smacked him hard where the sun doesn't shine. He squeaked as he grabbed his lower regions before falling face flat on the ground. Guess the black tiger's not gonna have any cubs now, huh? Jade smirked as she held a steel pipe in her hands. Jade, when did you get here? Cornelia asked. Like I was gonna just sit on the sidelines. Jade kept her smirk up with her titular scoff. Will shook her head with a smile. Oh, what am I gonna do with you? Not even a full minute later, all four dark hand goons laid in a beaten pile as they glanced upward to see the five guardians, and Jade, all smirking at them. So, you losers wanna go for round 2? Irma challenged as she, Cornelia, Lin, and Terani showed off bits of their own elemental powers while Will just cracked her knuckles and Jade had her arms crossed. A sense of dread falling upon all four of them, they decided to make a strategic retreat. Run! Finn shouted as Ratso took the ox and rabbit talismans, picked up his buddies and zoomed off. Once they were gone, all 6 girls cheered and shared high fives with each other. Now that was fun, Irma exclaimed. Yep, we are so totally superheroes right now. Lin exclaimed. Oh, now we're gonna need code names. Isn't J-Witch already a code name? Terani asked, still smiling herself. But that's a team name. We need individual names. Lin corrected. Yeah well, I think I'm too good for any code names. Cornelia said with an air of confidence, whipping her long blonde hair in the back. Pretty sure any code name you can come up with would suck. Jade jabbed, causing the others to laugh, and Cornelia to pout. However, Will's smile soon faded as she heard an ahem. Glancing to the side, she looked to see a certain man with crossed arms and an irritated look on her face. Uh-oh. The others turned to see Jackie, who looked a little less than pleased, along with Captain Black, who still seemed in shock. Hi Uncle Jackie, Jade waved nervously. Nice day we're having, huh? Lin laughed nervously as well while the others looked a bit nervous themselves. Captain Black looked towards his friend. Jackie, please explain. Jackie himself sighed as he rubbed his hand down his face. Okay, let me see if I understand you correctly. Valment began. You're telling me that my 4 enforcers, 3 of which having the power of the talismans, while the other is a feared martial artist, were overpowered by fairies. The crime lord exclaimed as he faced his quartet of henchmen. After suffering quite a defeat from the Guardians, the Dark Hand goons ended up making their way back to their hideout where Valment was waiting, which just so happened to be a warehouse along the docks. Hey, those chicks had some serious magic power behind them. Finn exclaimed. Yeah, they were like Shendu and those other demon guys we let out. Ratso added. All that fancy element magic. Plus, Chan was there too. Chow stated. That got Valment's attention. Chan, here. Indeed. Hawk Fu confirmed. His niece as well, and it would seem likely that Chan has allied himself with these fairies. However, their demeanor seemed very human, almost childlike. Rather than being upset at the mention of his worst enemy being present in the same city that he and his henchmen traveled cross-country specifically to get away from him, Valment took the moment to think as he put a hand to his chin. So, these fairies are children with their own magical powers. They kind acted more like teenagers. Big V. Finn said. Do you still have the talismans? Valment asked. Right here, boss. Ratso and his pals presented the 12 talismans they still carried. Maybe these so-called fairies could actually be useful. Hawk Fu, please take me to the site of this battle. I wish to see these beings for myself. It was evening in Heatherfield as the Guardians, now in their human form, along with Jade, were sitting down in a surveillance van with Jackie and Captain Black. Given how the head of Section 13 has seen the Guardians and their powers with his own eyes, Jackie had to explain who and what they were, including the Heart of Kandrakar and their battle against Phobos in Meridian. Okay, so let me see if I understand this, Jackie. Captain Black summed up. You moved here to help these 5 girls train with magic powers to fight some evil prince from another dimension. Essentially, yes. Jackie confirmed. Captain Black smiled slightly as he shook his head. You seem to always have a knack for attracting some unusual trouble, my friend, the magical kind. Jackie chuckled. You have no idea. So, you actually believe all this? Will questioned in surprise. One would think someone would be skeptical when it comes to magic. Kid, I've seen more than enough to make me a believer. Between dragons and demons, something like fairies doesn't really surprise me anymore. Captain Black responded. Yes, well, I am still disappointed in all of you. Jackie addressed the girls. Especially you, Jade. You promised me that you wouldn't get them involved. Well, hold on, this wasn't Jade's fault. Hey, Lynn interrupted. Yeah, all she did was warn us about the Dark Hand. Irma said as well. Just to kinda give us a heads up about any explosions or cars going flying into the air. If anything, we're the ones to blame for involving ourselves. Turen added. We just wanted to help. Besides, compared to some of the freak shows Phobos has got, those Dark Hand chumps were kinda mild. Cornelia said. Jade was a bit surprised but had a grateful smile at how her friends came to her defense. None of the kids at her old school would even think about doing something like this. So, if you wanna blame anyone, blame us. Will said. Jackie was a bit mildly stunned, but very proud at how mature each of the girls were acting right now. It was more than likely Jade did have a hand in this, but each of these other girls were willing to stand up and take the blame as well, as they were responsible themselves. Well, did you at least get the talismans? Jackie asked, causing all 6 girls to stiffen up as they looked towards each other. Cornelia, Jade, and Will each face-palmed while Irma, Lynn, and even Terani gave nervous laughs. Well, we were kinda having too much fun to really notice, Irma laughed nervously. Rookie mistake. Lynn said in the same sort of tone. Jackie and Captain Black both sighed. You're still new to all of this, so I suppose that is to be expected. But this could also mean that Valment might be willing to stay in town for the time being. Captain Black assumed. He's one to hold a grudge, and since he's seen Jackie here, and if he still has the talismans, he's probably going to try and make sure you don't interfere again. Jackie looked with a serious expression. He knew Valment very well and that was definitely something he would do. However, Captain Black continued. I would also urge the 5 of you to be careful as well. He addressed the girls. Should Valment learn of your identities, it could potentially put your families in danger. I don't know who this Phobos guy is or what kind of powers he's got, but just because Valment doesn't have any magic, doesn't mean he's not dangerous. Jackie spared a glance towards Jade as he told her the exact same thing, causing Jade to look away with crossed arms. We'll be sure to keep an eye out and be more careful this time around, Captain Black. Terani said. In the meantime, I'll keep the search up for the Dark Hand. Captain Black. As well as talking with my superiores about the possibility of transferring Section 13 here to Heatherfield. That took all of them, even Jackie, by surprise. You're transferring your entire group here? Will questioned. Considering what I've heard about this Phobos character, this could probably spell out as another, magical end of the world type deal. Captain Black explained. So I'll do what I can to help. Are you sure about this? Irma asked. Like I said, I've seen enough to make me a believer. Captain Black continued. Plus, as a law enforcement agent for the United States, it's my sworn duty to protect this country, and potentially the world from all threats, even magic-based ones. None of the Guardians knew what to say. Wow, Thanks. I really don't know what to say. Will said. This seemed to get Haylin even more excited from before. So, now we're not just superheroes, we're also secret agents. That is so cool. Irma exclaimed as she pumped her arm. Oh, you know it. Jade agreed as she and Irma shared a high five. I just hope I don't get one of those Mission Impossible jumpsuits. Cornelia said. Black's not my color. Hold the phone. Captain Black said. I can't exactly employ all of you officially, considering you're all underage. But you'll still have my help. Is this really a good idea? Terani asked. It's alright, Jackie assured. I've known Augustus for years, he's very dependable and has more than helped to fight magical threats before. You can count on him for help. Got that right, Jade added. He's got all this super awesome James Bond stuff that I know is gonna kick major butt. I can hardly wait, Irma smirked. Now then, I think it's best to get all of you home. It's getting late, Jackie told the girls. I wouldn't want to worry your families. I'll give you all a lift, least I can do. Captain Black said. Thanks again for your help, Captain Black. Any friend of Jackie's is a friend of ours. Will said as the other girls, even Jade, smiled in agreement. Captain Black gave a friendly smile. They've taken quite a liking to you, Jackie. His friend smiling as well. The sun had set as everyone had gone back home safely. However, not all was well. Right outside the building where Will's apartment was, both Valment and Hawk Fu snuck through the alleyway, having fallen to Section 13 transports when they dropped off the girls' home. So, one of these, fairy girls' lives here, it would seem. Valment said. Yes master, the red-haired one specifically. Hawk Fu confirmed. And they each possess some form of elemental-based magic? Valment asked. Not all of them, Hawk Fu answered. The red-haired one didn't seem to possess any magic abilities, save for flight and supernatural strength. However, I did notice that she bore a crystal pendant of sorts that the others did not. A crystal pendant, Valment mused. If there was one thing he learned during his time both working with, and being possessed, by Shendu, it was that artifacts like talismans or pendants possessed some kind of unique power. Master, since we know where they all live, allow me to vanquish them. Hawk Fu requested as he cracked his knuckles. Their power could present a significant problem for us. Valment raised his hand. No, I have a better idea. The talismans please. Hawk Fu did as he requested as he pulled out a sack containing all 12 talismans. The crime lord reached in and grabbed only 4, the dragon, the snake, the monkey, and the rooster. Using the snake talisman, Valment turned his whole body invisible before using the rooster talisman to fly towards the building. Quietly, Valment searched each window until he found the one that revealed the bedroom of Will Vandam. The lights were out and the young girl was asleep, her whole body wrapped in her blanket, save for her red hair. Still being as quiet as possible, Valment used the power of the dragon talisman to channel a little bit of heat into his hand as he placed it on where the lock would be on the inside. Just a tiny bit of heat was enough to melt the lock, allowing him to open the window slightly. He then used the monkey talisman to shapeshift into a bird before flying into Will's room through the small opening. Once inside, he transformed back but remained invisible with the snake talisman. He remained as still as possible as he heard Will groan slightly while rolling a bit on her bed before going into a deeper sleep. Valment spotted the crystal pendant that Hawk Fu mentioned on her desk as he slowly walked toward it and picked it up by the string. Using the monkey talisman again, Valment transformed into a bird and flew out the window, holding the crystal by the string with his feet. He flew away from the building before meeting up with Hawk Fu again and transformed back to his normal visible self. You say these girls a problem, Hawk Fu? Valment said as he held the heart of Kandrakar in his hands. Well, there is an old saying us businessmen have, a problem is simply a misunderstood opportunity. The crime lord smiled evilly as he glanced at the glowing amulet now in his possession. And this is the end of part 2 of this What If. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.